We've always wondered what happens after we die. It's the ultimate question, right? But what if I told you that some ancient texts talk about not one, but two kinds of death? Yeah, today we're jumping right into one of the most intense and frankly misunderstood phrases in the Bible, the second death.
So right out of the gate, the book of Revelation hits you with this incredibly vivid and kind of terrifying imagery. They are part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone. Whoa, that's a line that has stuck with people for centuries. It's fueled everything from fiery sermons to, let's be honest, probably a few nightmares.
But here's the thing. What if that image isn't as straightforward as it seems? The analysis we're going to walk through suggests this phrase is pointing to something much, much deeper than just flames and punishment. So what on earth does this phrase really mean? All right, let's dive in and find out.
Okay, so where do we even start? Well, our investigation begins with the most obvious clue, the verse itself. The same verse that talks about this fiery lake, it also gives us a very, very specific list of who it says is headed there.
Yep, the source material we're looking at hones right in on this. Our first big clue comes straight from Revelation, chapter 21, verse 8. And what's so interesting is that this isn't some vague, poetic warning. No, it's a list, a very specific one.
So here it is, the list from the text. The fearful, the unbelieving, the abominable, murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars. Okay, now in English, these words seem pretty black and white, right? But, and this is a big but, as we're about to see, the original Greek words they come from, well, that's where the real key to understanding all of this is hiding.
And this is where the source material's interpretation really starts to shift our perspective. The argument is that this list, it's not a checklist of one-off mistakes. Oops, I did that once. No, it's describing a lifestyle, a whole state of being that's rooted in rebellion, and as the text puts it, clinging to self-rule instead of something else.
So you might be wondering, how do they get that from this list? Good question. The answer lies in going back to the source code, so to speak, back to the original language. So let's decode some Greek and see what we find.
You see, to really get the full weight of these words, you can't just stick with the English translation. The analysis we're following goes straight to the original Greek text of Revelation. And this is where it gets fascinating, because you start to see just how much nuance, how much depth can get lost in translation.
Okay, let's take that first word, fearful. The Greek is deilois. Now, the source analysis points out that this isn't about being scared of spiders or having everyday anxiety. It's much more specific. It means cowardly. It's talking about people who actively shrink back and abandon their faith the moment things get tough.
And check this one out. This one's amazing. Sorcerers. The Greek word is pharmakois. Sound familiar? It should. It's the root for our word pharmacy. And the source explains that this isn't just about chanting spells. It's tied to the use of drugs and poisons, which points to a much deeper idea of manipulation and corruption. How cool is that?
So what's the big takeaway here? By digging into the original Greek, the argument is that the whole focus shifts. It's not just about a list of bad things you do, it's about who you are at your core. It's about your fundamental allegiance, where you've decided to place your ultimate trust.
And that word, allegiance, that brings us right to the heart of it all. Because once you understand that, you can finally define what this second death actually is, especially when you put it side by side with the first death we all know about.
Okay, this lays it out so clearly. You've got the first death, that's physical death, the separation of our soul or spirit from our body. It happens to everyone. It's just part of the human experience. But then you have the second death, and according to this analysis, that's a spiritual death. It's described as this final, irreversible separation from God's presence, the ultimate end state for those who, to use the text language, choose to reject grace.
So let's put a pin in it. Here is the core definition we've been building towards. The second death is the final state of spiritual death, a complete, total, permanent separation from God, who is described in the text as the source of everything we consider good: life, light, love. Think about it. To be cut off forever from the very source of life, in this view, that is the ultimate death.
Right, so what about that lake of fire imagery we started with? Well, the interpretation here is pretty profound. It says it's symbolic. It's not a literal barbecue pit. Instead, it represents God's consuming judgment, a power that completely ends everything that is false and rebellious. So the emphasis isn't on endless torture, but on finality, on a final justice. And this leads us to the final piece of the puzzle, the why.
If this total separation is the final verdict, well, how does someone end up there? According to the source material we're looking at, it all boils down to a single fundamental choice.
And this is such a critical point. The second death, in this framework, isn't some arbitrary punishment thrown down by an angry God. Not at all. It's framed as the natural, logical conclusion, the ultimate outcome of a choice a person makes about their own life and where they place their allegiance.
You can see it right here, laid out as two distinct paths. It's really a single choice. Path 1, you can accept grace. This is defined as trusting in the atonement offered in the text. The result? Spiritual life, connection to God. Or, path 2, you can reject grace. This means you're clinging to your own self-rule, to those identities we saw on that list. And the result of that path is spiritual separation, what the text calls the second death.
And this is the final twist that brings this whole idea crashing into the present. The source argues that this isn't all about some far-off judgment day. It's a reality right now. In this very moment, a person is either connected to that source of life, or, to use the biblical phrase, they are already dead in their trespasses and sins. They're already living in that state of spiritual separation.
So, let's wrap this up. We've seen the second death reframed. It's not some medieval torture chamber, but a final, chosen state of being completely separated from the source of all life. And that, well, that leaves us with a really deep question to chew on, doesn't it? Forgetting theology for a second, just in any context, what does it truly mean to be separated from a source of life versus being connected to it?